Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back after a long time to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stupendous Stunning Steve Barber. And Steve Barber. And joining me, as always, my awesome co-host, Delicious Dwaylon Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And oh my God, I cannot believe we are finally recording.
I know.
It has been.
I'll be honest. I was getting kind of worried. Hope
I
asked me
know.
like, are y'all doing the podcast today? I'm like, last I talked to Steve, he said, I hope so. And I haven't heard anything from him since. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it has been, and I say it's been 3 weeks since we had an actually, it's been 3 weeks and one day since an episode record. I can't say we because unfortunately you actually were not on the last episode
Yep.
because you had
Yep.
a family emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And we had already rescheduled Jamie
Yeah.
and John twice, and you said, well, if you want to ahead and do a solo, even though we had just told everybody, well, I'm not going to do any more solo interviews.
Yeah.
Then like 3 days later, I had to do a solo interview.
Yeah.
But I have already at least spoken to Jamie, and we are going to do something again with them,
Okay.
hopefully soon. Because actually, just talking with Jamie, I discovered, well, actually, if you listen to their Bless Their Hearts podcast, there's a lot of weird medical stuff that we all like have in common,
Right.
and if it's not us, it's like our kids,
Yeah.
and so kind of bonding kind of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, two great guys, and listen to Jamie tell the story about when the first time they when they had Chris Jericho on their podcast. Before they start recording, John walks in the room and Jamie is laying on the ground in a fetal position.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like that nervous,
Oh, wow.
Um, and John, of course, if you follow AEW, especially like on their social media, and you see a
Mm-hmm.
picture, was it which Briscoe? Because I'm going to feel bad if I
Uh,
say the
Jay Briscoe passed. Yeah.
okay. So it was his brother, who was
Yeah.
flying through
Mark.
the air,
Yeah.
about to land on a table, and you
Yeah.
see the guy in the back with his arms raised. That's John. That
Oh, okay.
so they
Cool.
happened to catch him, on that. So John's internet AEW famous.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I had a really good time talking about that. I could definitely go check out their two podcasts. They're not wrestling podcasts, but they're both wrestling fans, especially Jamie. He's been a wrestling fan since he was a kid,
Right.
and John's getting back into it, and he said, "Man," he said, "I'm glad I'm getting back into it, because he's really enjoying himself." Yeah, check out True Crime Cast and the Bless Their Hearts podcast. But speaking of meeting um childhood idols, I got lots of story. Actually, I don't want to use the word. I don't want to use the word idol. I'll say heroes. But I this past weekend was, I put on my personal Facebook. 12-year-old me would have never believed,
Right.
this. Yeah, and I'm going to go into more detail about that, as the podcast goes on. I just want to, say apologies from myself and Dwaylon for not being able to record for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We do say, we stick by this. Family does come first, and when you have family emergencies,
Mm-hmm.
there's been a couple of them, not just one. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been a couple of them. When you have situations that leave you so frazzled because you're ready to
Mm-hmm.
go beat an 11-year-old's rear end,
Yeah.
because I'll say it, my son got jumped by two kids who used to be his friends, and it
Right.
just happened to be a day we're recording. And Dwayne actually told me, he's like, dude, your mind's not in the right place.
I'm like,
He's
go
like,
take care of your son.
go take care. Yeah. So I was like, done. So, and then on the lighter side of things, when your toilet all of a sudden decides to start spraying
Mhm.
water everywhere, you
And
kind of
for
got to
me,
fix that.
yeah, and for me, it's when the stomach bug decides to rip through your
Stomach
house,
bug. Yep.
person after person, and it's like
Sadly, that was like the lightest thing that
it,
happened.
it really was. It really was.
uh, and it's not the first time that's happened, to either one of
Mm,
us.
no,
So,
I mean we've dealt
um,
with that, the flu, you know, COVID. Just wow.
yeah, and so and that's before my work has really start ramping up, even
Hmm.
though might not be there too much longer.
Right.
It just all depends. I wanted to talk to my boss today about it, but he was actually a lot busier than what he normally is, and so I wasn't able to actually talk to him, about possibly dropping my notice here soon. We're
Hmm.
talking about that because I also don't want to leave anybody hanging on the bag
Right.
because it is like one of the busiest times of the year, and I don't want to say, "Well, sucks to be you," and
Yeah.
because that honestly, I mean, no matter my feelings about the job, it's not fair to them to say pick up every single bit of my slack at the last minute,
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
me
Here's
being,
everything I was working on. Here you go. See you.
yeah, you know, um, so just doing uh the right thing, basically. Um, But before we get started on all the details, because we just kind of want to do like a catching up episode, because three
Hmm.
weeks we didn't even have like a topic, because we were like, well, let's not even have a topic because we don't even know if we're going to be recording.
Right. Right.
So that's how hectic it's been lately, or the way I put it on uh, Twitter. I said life gets in the way sometimes, or life happens, and here
Hmm.
lately it's been happening a
A
lot for me and
whole lot.
Dwaylon.
Yeah.
So, and because
Yeah.
it's been one thing after another,
Yeah. I
so
but I need this wrestling therapy.
we do, we really do. And before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and give all our contact and list info if I can remember it. It has been 3 weeks, but let's see. If you want to email the show, it's armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to find us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast. You can also find us on Instagram @armchairbookingpodcast. You can find us on Twitter @bookingarmchair. You can find us on TikTok @armchairbooking. You can find us on YouTube. If you're watching, you know that already. If you're listening to audio, hey, go check out the YouTube, because, in fact, I know in this show here, I'm going to be showing some pictures that you're not going to be able to see in the audio, but you can listen to us, subscribe it, and what the pictures look like, for this past weekend. And but if you want to find us on audio, you can go just about any audio platform there is. If we're not there, let us know. We'll do whatever we can to get ourselves added. You can find our merch at tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast. You can get things like shirts, you can get phone cases, you can get coffee mugs. That's some of the things I have already. You can also get
Hmm.
pillowcases, you can get laptop cases. I mean, they're amazing, the stuff that they can produce. You can also find Dwaylon on his social media at fat_daddy73. And because he's Fat Daddy, well, along with the Fat Daddy, you got to have a big mama.
Hmm.
And I'm not talking about the big mama from the NWF, and I'm not talking about the big mama that's Jimmy Valiant's woman. Yeah, I had to throw that in there for a
Oh yeah.
reason.
Oh yeah.
So I'm talking about Dwaylon's wife, Hope. She is Big Mama. Together, they have a couple of social medias on YouTube and TikTok called Big and Fat.
Hmm.
I also have my other non wrestling podcast called The Cubicle Chat, which, as of last week, I am the only person on that. Uh,
Right.
Mikey, my co-host there, he stepped down. You know, he he just said his heart wasn't into it anymore, but he had a lot of fun and he was grateful to be on the show. And so right now I'm going to be running solo for a while, just to see how I do. I will have guests. Waylon will be back on there. Y'all know
Mhm. Oh
that.
yeah.
So because if y'all think we only talk about wrestling, well, you can't build a 30 plus year friendship
Yeah.
just on
On just
wrestling.
wrestling. Yeah.
We also talk about music,
Oh yeah.
and we can talk about movies, and we
Hmm.
can talk about all sorts of other stuff, um, and we do a lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
we do.
I know it's been a while, but is that everything?
I believe that's everything. Yep.
All
Believe
right,
so.
cool.
It's really
And
good for being 3 weeks off.
yeah, whew. And I do want to thank. Oh, we're also on IMDb. I almost forgot about that.
That's right.
We are on
Can't
IMDb.
forget that, because that's the most
Uh,
important thing.
Not only that, but Jamie and John, they told me, because they're also on IMDb, they said somebody has to manually put that on there.
Oh, so somebody put us on there. Well,
Yes,
whoever you are, thank you very
thank you
much.
very much. And at least one of them, I think it was Jamie, that said, "Hey, and if you know who it is, send them our way. We can need some help maintaining ours." Uh, so, but anyway, so yeah, definitely go check out that episode, because that was part of our series of why we're fans. Our next interview, we don't know when it's going to be scheduled, but we have already promised Herman Cade, also known as Bear, from the Wrestling Society Network
Hmm.
podcast,
Yep.
because we had him scheduled, but then we had to
Yeah.
reschedule, and then we had to reschedule, and then so finally I said, "Hey, we'll let you know."
Yeah.
And
We'll let you know.
but
And
he,
we apologize for that. It's
yeah,
again, it's things have been very hectic. So
yeah. So, but we appreciate everybody's patience, and And Bear, you are definitely our next guest. We will figure out the good date and time. Because we're honestly we're still a little hesitant to schedule anybody right now
Yeah,
because
because
and mostly because of my work right now, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Um, Although next Monday, um, they work is not going to interfere with anything next Monday because I'm going to be talking to the school board at their meeting next Monday,
yeah,
and I don't know how long that's going to last. So, once again, um, if we if we end up if we schedule an interview, we don't want to have to be the ones to
yeah, yeah,
cancel it.
yeah,
So that's why if we know there's a possibility, that we may end up having to cancel the show. We won't have an interview because that's not fair to the person we're interviewing. So,
exactly.
all right. So, in the world of wrestling right now,
I have
because
I have one thing because I have
uh,
one thing that has bugged the crap out of me since I saw it. We have two useless matches at WrestleMania.
I was about to. Oh, I know. I'm pretty sure I know the ones you're talking about.
You have Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt for no reason at all. Just none. It makes no sense to have these two. When and part of the problem is Bobby Lashley is being slotted in because the original plan was Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt, and Brock didn't want to work with Bray Wyatt.
Uh,
So the Vince McMahon idea was to put Brock and Omos together for a match at WrestleMania, and Brock was all for that. So that's the match we're getting. We're getting Brock Lesnar versus Omos on the biggest stage of the year. We're getting Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt. And no offense to any of these performers, but neither of these matches make a bit of sense and are unnecessary. They're just going to take up time on the card that could be given to something else.
you should not have well at least three out of four of these performers. You should not have them being in matches that are going to be considered the P break.
No, the pee break or the snack break or just the throwaway matches that in 2 months nobody's going to remember. And it's like
Oh,
they've wasted. And here's the thing: Triple H was amazing booker for NXT
mm-hmm.
during its heyday. Started out great when he took over after Vince stepped down. But I don't know what he's doing now because other than the bloodline story, which is the best storyline in pro wrestling right now.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, though, a lot of stuff does not make sense. Okay. And I know you've got some stuff to tell everybody, so I'll try
Oh
to
no,
be
you're
brief.
fine. You're fine.
Um, so you've got the women's tag team titles are still not booked with any confidence, are still not made to be important. They have Becky Lynch and Lita beat Dakota Kai and Io Sky on a random episode of
I
Raw
saw
with the
that.
help of Trish Stratus. So now that's going to, rumor has it that that's going to set up a match at WrestleMania with the entire Damage Control versus Trish, Lita, and Becky Lynch. So you have two retired wrestlers and then four of the most talented women in the world. Why is this needed? I mean,
Um,
they buried Bailey. Bailey should have been the Raw Women's Champion, and Dakota Kai and Io Scott should be the tag champions, and they should have ran the women's division. That's how it should have played out. But they buried Bailey, so now nobody's believing that Bailey is a threat to the women's
and
title.
I don't understand why they buried Bailey.
I don't either.
I mean,
Something else I don't
oh,
understand. Well, I think we touched on this the last time that we recorded. I still don't understand why Rhea Ripley's challenging Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title
different show.
When Judgment Day is on Raw.
Yeah,
We
go
were
get it.
this close from getting Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley, which what everybody wanted to see at
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania. That was the money.
Yeah, and
But we gotta shoehorn Charlotte Flair into
and
WrestleMania somehow.
oh, and and I was about to say, I think it'll be it'll be a decent match. But then again, I also saw somebody post something, and I believe it may have been on is either on YouTube or Reel on like an Instagram or something. And it said, sadly, this is not done in slow motion. This is real time. And it was showing Charlotte in the last match they had on SmackDown,
Mm-hmm.
and everything was, she used to do
Oh
her
yeah.
moves very crisp,
Oh
quick,
yeah.
whatever.
I saw
Yeah,
clips of the match she had this past Friday with Shotzi. And yeah, it was not the Charlotte Flair we're used to. It was very methodical.
right,
She was going at like a Randy Orton type pace. That pace works for Orton for
right.
his style, but not for Charlotte's. So I don't know what's going on there. But as long as Rhea Ripley walks out with the title, then I don't care because there is your future, your women's division right there.
Rhea, yeah.
He has everything. But and also another rumor is not only are we going to do the 6-man tag women's match, we're still going to have Becky and Lita defend the tag titles at WrestleMania. So they're going to have to pull double duty if the rumor is to be believed. So that makes no sense. Like the top of the top of the card is booked good. You've got Cody versus Roman for the title,
That'll be good.
possibly inserting Sami Zayn in there if they don't go the route of having him and Kevin Owens chase the tag titles.
Which I think that's the direction they should
I,
go.
yeah, I think that's the direction that they should go. Let Cody have his moment, you know. But here's the thing too: there's no guarantee that Cody Rhodes is going to walk out with the title
No, there's not.
Because Roman is close to 1,000 days as champion.
Ooh,
I could see
ooh.
WWE pulling a swerve and having Roman retain to get to the 1,000 days because
And
he's at over 900 right now.
and you know what? Here's something else about Roman having that long reign and the whole bloodline thing is it's become unpredictable, which is really what you want.
Which is what you want. Yeah, because
Yeah,
just when people were starting to complain about how, oh, well, Roman's had the title too long and all this is going on, in walks Sami Zayn, changes the complete dynamic of the group. Then you have this great storyline. Then you've got tremendous character work by Jey Uso,
yeah,
up even including him turning on Sammy on Raw last week,
yep.
which I mean, the character work that he did in that few minutes was people need to you know promising wrestlers need to watch that if they're trying to figure out how to do character work because he had everybody in that arena in the palm of his hand believing that he had just turned his back on his brother and was going to side with Sammy and then super kicks his head off
He did too.
and yeah and Sammy sold it like $1 million, so I give him that too. But I mean, the top of the card is good, but then everything else, like you've got your main event match, you've got, and you've got your world title matches. That part is good. Cody versus Roman for the undisputed title. You've got Bianca Belair versus Asuka,
Which will be a good match.
which will be an excellent match.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah,
this is the Asuka tapping into her Japan days. This
yes.
is this is killer Oscar. So that match is going to be good. Rhea and Charlotte will be good, but then everything else falls apart. Nothing else on this card makes sense so far, except for Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. I saw that coming as
Mm.
soon as Logan Paul eliminated Seth Rollins from the Royal Rumble. I'm like, there's your WrestleMania match right there. And then, but they've built it. I give them
Yeah,
credit. They've
they
built
built
it.
it correctly.
And Seth Rollins is fantastic. Like you can keep the architect, you can keep the guy from the Shield, you can keep all that. I just need Riddler 2.0 Seth Rollins doing his thing because this stuff is hilarious. The outfits, the insane cackle, just all of it is just. And of course, once the bell rings, Seth Rollins can go. So,
Yeah,
and Logan Paul has proved that he can go, even with the limited amount of experience that he has.
but he's worked.
He's worked exactly.
He's put in the hours. He
So
put
that match
yeah.
is going to be, especially from just an athletic standpoint, that match is going to be excellent. Might steal the whole show.
That is very possible. Definitely. Theory and Cena.
Theory and Cena will be good as
Yeah,
long as they do the right
as
thing,
long
and
as they do
Cena,
everything.
as long as Cena does the job.
Yep.
Cena does not need to win the U.S. title. This match does not need to end in a disqualification or a count out or some shenanigans. Austin Theory needs this more than anything, more than the title that he's carrying into the match. He needs to beat
Hmm.
John Cena to get the rub. What bigger rub would there be than, you know, one of the, you know, WWE Mount Rushmore
Hmm.
champions
Yes.
for him to, for Austin Theory to beat. Theory get if Theory beats Cena, he gets to brag about that the same way Chris Jericho gets to brag about beating Austin and Rock in the same night to be undisputed champion. You get to brag on that the rest of your career
Yeah.
because what bigger thing is there?
I mean, because John Cena, he's one of the people that you tell somebody who's not necessarily a wrestling fan, name a
But they
wrestler, and
John
Cena's
Cena
John Cena, The Rock,
exactly.
Hogan, Austin.
Well, you
That's
look what I referenced Jericho. Jericho beat the
yeah,
two biggest stars in the
yes,
Attitude Era.
yep,
John Cena is the biggest star of the Ruthless Aggression era and any other era they had until he just kind of slowed down
right.
his career to do Hollywood stuff. So the smart thing to do is have Theory win that match. That way he gets the rub and can do some excellent heel work because the guy's putting in the work. Ever since
Hmm.
they got rid of the goofy phone stuff and all that, and he got
Yeah,
serious, I've liked Austin Theory.
and Gunther, it's going to be either Sheamus or it's going to be Drew McIntyre.
And the way
It's
they
going to,
did on SmackDown, both of them won the Fatal Five Way.
yeah,
If they do a triple threat with Gunther, McIntyre, and Sheamus, reinforce the ring and move the crowd back because
yes,
those boys are going to fight.
that's going to be brutal.
and
Whoever's in there, it's going to be brutal.
and that is going to be excellent because when Gunther starts laying in those chops, it is oh,
Yeah.
I feel it, and I'm not even getting hit. It's like oh my god.
Oh, Edge and Balor in the Hell in a Cell match. I'm right next. You
They
know what? I don't even.
yeah, I'm tired of this feud, but I do. It goes back to what we were talking about, though. They're using the Hell in a Cell as the feud ender, which is what it was
That
designed to
part's
be.
good. Yeah.
That part's good, but I'm so tired of this Edge versus Judgment Day thing. It's like it's over. It's done. Just leave it be. And
Um.
Balor needs to win that because there's no need for Edge to win that.
Yeah. I'm looking over the match list, and they have Lesnar versus Almost, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't have Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt listed.
Well, it's coming because they've had them interacting on Raw and
Yeah.
SmackDown, and Uncle Howdy jumped Bobby Lashley on SmackDown. So, and that's another thing. I don't know what Triple H is doing because he has ruined Bray Wyatt from the time he came back. I mean, the
Yeah.
best thing that Bray Wyatt did was come back at Extreme Rules at the very end. After that, none of this has made sense, and
Nope.
not in a mystical wrestling storyline. This doesn't make sense. It just does not make any sense. None
Right.
of it. We
And it's
still
like
don't know who Uncle Howdy is.
it's Bo Dallas.
It's got to be Bo Dallas,
Yeah.
but we still don't know who he is. Bray is barely wrestling, and from what I saw on Twitter earlier, I meant to text you. He's out injured,
Again.
but they're not specifying what the injury is. They just said he's out because of a
Oh.
physical condition, is how they put it. So we've got 3 weeks to Mania, and one of your premier stars is potentially injured and may not make the show.
Does he have athlete's foot or something?
Have no clue. Like I said, they're saying is physical condition.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, athlete's foot. I mean,
I mean, it sucks, but
it sucks, but come on.
I
I mean,
mean,
I've ran 3 miles with athlete's foot before.
I mean, Scott Steiner wrestled and won world titles with drop foot. So it's
Ooh.
like wrap it. Scott Steiner just wrapped it, and
Uh,
then
but
of course Scott Steiner's insane too. So I guess they shouldn't use that as a
that,
shouldn't use that as a reference. I guess.
uh, apparently his son must be a pretty good basketball player because he just signed to play for Virginia
Oh
Tech.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
well, that's
From
kind of cool.
yeah,
One of the things I've heard about Lesnar almost, and then Wyatt Lashley is Vince McMahon, of course, is back behind the scenes again,
Mm-hmm.
and that he wanted to get back, excuse me, back into the fold as far as
The
you know,
creative.
yeah. And these two matches were his idea.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Brock Lesnar didn't want to fight. You
Yeah,
know,
Brock didn't want to do Bray, and Brock gets to do whatever he wants to
which
do.
did he say why he didn't want to?
Mm-mm. I don't know if he didn't want to do the spooky, mystical stuff that Bray does and be involved in that. And it's like, but that would have told a better story than the story you're not going to get with Omos.
I mean, he might be able to F5 Omos, but I mean, Omos is so tall.
He,
You know,
he's Brock's going to hit 40 Germans and then win and then pin him. All this is doing is feeding Omos to because I
why?
mean, how many times has Brock Lesnar lost at WrestleMania?
Like what? Twice, maybe.
I'm trying to think.
Well, no. Let's see. Goldberg.
Now that was
Um.
Survivor Series. He beat Goldberg at WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, the first time.
yeah, because they had Goldberg beat Kevin Owens for the Universal title.
No, I'm
That
talking
way,
about the very first time they went at WrestleMania.
that one.
Yeah,
I
with
can't remember. Oh
the
yeah,
one.
that was a loss. I think
Yeah.
Goldberg did win that match. Yeah.
Because that's right before it's considered one of the worst WrestleMania matches ever.
Oh yeah, because
Uh,
everybody knew they were both leaving,
yeah,
so the fans just crapped on the match, and
yeah,
so both
and all
guys, instead of just going through with the match, they decided, well, they're going to crap on us, we're going to crap on them, and give them a terrible match.
yeah. So,
I think he's
um,
only lost one time at WrestleMania.
um, the triple. Well, it turned into a triple threat. Him and
Yeah,
Roman, but then Seth came in,
but Roman took the
but
pin, so
Roman
it
took the
technically
pin.
doesn't. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Okay, two because Brock did lose the title.
yeah.
So
But then and then he lost. He did lose to Seth that won. It was like the opening match because he's like, I'm going to get my plane. I'm out of
that's
here.
right. That's right. So that's three. So being involved in this company for 21 years, he's only lost three times at WrestleMania. He ain't losing to Omos.
I say because last year was it him and Roman last year?
Yes, because Roman beat him for the
That's
title.
one of the three. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that's
So
when Roman
that
got.
actually, so
Yeah.
that'll make four. That
So
makes
20,
four losses.
like I said, 21 years.
21 years, four losses at WrestleMania. Not a bad resume, really.
Exactly. He broke the streak for the Undertaker, which I still don't agree with, but
I
um,
don't. I do and I don't. I When it first happened, I was just in shock that the streak was
yeah.
over because it's like, then where does the Undertaker go from here? Because that got to be the selling point.
Hmm.
People bought tickets to WrestleMania as soon as they knew the Undertaker was going to be on the card because they knew the streak was on the line. And at first, I was like, they shouldn't have broken the streak, and I still hold on to that. They shouldn't have broken the streak, but at least they didn't have an up and coming wrestler beat him
Right.
or an established baby face or something like that. We said have Roman do it. Roman had enough heat as it was.
Hmm.
Uh, with Brock could take that heat because Brock don't care.
Yeah,
It,
he
and it
doesn't.
wasn't and it wasn't going to affect Brock's career because Brock was bulletproof already. So
Hmm.
it wasn't going to. The fans weren't going to turn on Brock like they would turn on everybody else because Brock was an attraction. He's just a wrecking ball that people paid to see beat people up. So it wasn't like if they had somebody like AJ Styles break the streak. The fans would have turned on AJ
Yeah.
and his WWE career would have never been the same.
And the Undertaker, man, he's done wrestling his match with AJ where the Undertaker actually went over.
Yeah.
And I think he may have planned on wrestling again after that because Undertaker is another one who believes you leave with, you
Yeah.
leave staring at the lights.
Yeah. You're
You
supposed to
put,
look at the lights. Yeah.
yep.
And I don't
But
think that tradition is upheld enough in this day and age. I think
right.
that's still how it should be. Call it antiquated all you want to, but I still think that if you're the veteran and you're leaving or retiring or whatever, then put over somebody on your way out the door.
Hmm.
Make a new star on your way out the door because somebody made you, so you need to make somebody else.
Exactly. And once you retire, stay retired.
Yeah. Stop. I don't
I
care
mean,
how much money they back up to your house because Shawn Michaels, I thought he was going to be the exception to the rule, and he stayed retired for 8 years.
hmm
And then that Saudi money came, and I mean, I can't blame him if you're offering me that kind of money because
that's
I think that he got paid like $7-8 million to do that match, to come out of retirement to do that match. Somebody cuts me a check for $7-8 million. It's like, well, all right. I mean, I got one in me. Let's go. Let's go.
yeah, it ain't gonna be a good one.
It's not going to be a good one at all. At all. Let me put that out there. But for $8 million, I'll do what I can.
Yeah, and he's walking. Going, people don't want to see me bald,
Yeah.
but and that was
But
one thing that came out. And he's like, dude's got his head shaved.
yeah.
That's not.
Yeah.
No, he's got to have a mullet. What's going
Yeah.
on?
Well, the
And
problem is he was getting the crop circle thing going in the top of his head.
I got that too. And guess what?
Yeah. See,
I got.
yours is different though, because yours is like this. His, he was doing the comb over thing, trying to
Oh,
hide the fact
got,
that he was going bald here.
he got the whole bacon strips thing going.
Yes, yes, yes.
uh,
And that is just awful. It's like
yeah,
that is nature's way of telling you to
it
just give
makes
it
it
up.
look worse when you. It's like drawing, especially if the wind blows and you draw like to one side. It's like woo.
Yeah, it's like it just flaps up like this, and then boom,
Yeah, and it's like,
like
oh, and
uh, but
okay,
that is your WrestleMania card so far. So for me, it's like, can I get the three world title matches and then y'all keep the rest of it? No, I take that back. Give me the three world title matches and Seth Rollins and Logan Paul, and y'all can have the rest of it.
ah,
And this is a 2 night thing.
yeah, a 2 night thing, and the one match has been verified for one of the nights, and that's Rollins and Logan Paul's on the first night.
Oh, okay.
The rest of them, it just says to be announced. I'm going to guess Roman and Cody is probably going to be on night number two. Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the other ones toss up, and they could be.
Uh,
I don't think they're going to have the women's matches on the same night. It's going to be one on one
it's
night. It
yeah,
makes
that's how
sense
it
that
should
way.
be.
Yeah.
Another thing that I did here, and I'll be done. Um, but the plan is, regardless of who is the tag team champions, the women's tag team champions, they will have to defend those titles against Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler because that's the direction that they're going.
Well,
Actually, I am absolutely fine with that because
yeah, we're going to have new
Shayna.
champions.
Oh, we're definitely going to have new champions.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, we got two killers over here versus everybody else.
but between the old redhead and the new redhead over
Yeah,
here.
and the thing is, with this, will actually be better for Ronda than Ronda having to
Hmm.
do these matches by herself because Shayna can do the heavy lifting and cover up Ronda's deficiencies.
Yep.
Because as much as they want to say how great she acclimated to wrestling, she did to a point and then it plateaued and she hasn't
Hmm.
gotten any better. And by them being in it,
Shayna gets it better.
Shayna gets it. And
Yeah.
Shayna, it's like they could have that sort of, with their skill sets, they could have, if they stay together long enough, they could have that Arn and Tully type thing where Ronda comes in for a while and you know does the technical stuff and all that, and then Shayna gets tagged in and does the crunch work and just puts the boots to him because
Yep.
that's kind of how Arn and Tully were. Tully was the Flash, and then he'd tag in Arn, and Arn would just
The
start spine
enforcer.
bustering people. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, so that's our WrestleMania. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll have another preview
oh
once,
yeah, that's
because
just kind of my overview of what they've
yeah,
done so far
so
with
far.
3 weeks out.
I mean, give them a chance; they'll screw it up, you know.
Oh, definitely. I have
Yeah,
no doubt.
but I do want to talk about my weekend, and actually, I want to talk about something that happened, um, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. A friend of the show, and that would be one Wildcat Chris Harris. He did a favor for us. And I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to share. Let me bring this thing up. I'm going to have to pause it. Um, Hold on. Don't want to start it too early. All right. Got to share the screen, and I know I already sent this to you. Um, but there we go. Yeah, I already sent it to you, but I just want to share for
Oh yeah.
the people. In fact, let me. I'm going to stop the sharing real quick because I know I forgot to do something. The same thing I forget to do every time. Share sound.
They kind of need to hear it.
So, but this is Wildcat Chris Harris. He did this on the 4th of March.
Hey guys, this is Wildcat Chris Harris, one half of America's Most Wanted and former 7-time NWA TNA Tag Team Champion. I want you guys to check out Steve and Dwaylon on Armchair Booking Podcast.
Awesome. That's
Yep.
awesome.
So, but this weekend got another promo, and I will share that one along with some of the pictures from this weekend. What it was, I went to the another wrestling fan fest up in Chillicothe, and that's one thing I think we had mentioned it
Yeah.
before. Yeah. So sorry for people looking at my Windows Explorer, but but see if you did I didn't hold on. I don't think, please hold. I think I did it again. Could you hear that? All right.
I didn't hear it.
Okay. So yeah, once again, I don't click the little thing. Oh no, it says share sound. Okay. All right. So you ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
So you know what? I've been looking for an armchair here. Do you have an armchair?
I have an armchair booking wrestling podcast.
You are the guy behind the Armchair Wrestling Podcast?
Yes, sir.
I listen to it. This is Bill Apter, Grab an Armchair Podcast. All right?
And you know, one of the coolest things was he actually offered to do that. That was his idea to do
That's
the
amazing.
promo.
I mean, the godfather of wrestling journalism.
Yes.
It's like I'm speechless. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this weekend there were certain parts of it that were surreal, and I'll get into that as well. Um, we weren't even there that long. Out of all three of the fan fests that my son and I have been to up in Chillicothe, ran by Bobby Fulton. He's the one who always puts it on every year or every time. Like once every 6 months now. This is the one we were actually, we spent probably less time at this one than the other ones, but the quality, for me anyway, the stuff that we did, the people that we met has actually been kind of topping all the other ones.
Right.
And the other ones, I
Right.
mean, you think the first one that I went to, met Steamboat, met the NWO along with Buff, and that was a
Yep.
couple days after we interviewed Buff.
Yep.
Met Tully Blanchard, met JJ Dillon. Actually met Barry Windham, didn't get my picture taken with him, but did meet him, and bought that belt right
Yep.
there. The 10 pounds of gold, and it's like, man, that was a pretty good experience. The next one, 6 months ago, same thing. We met, some pretty cool people, and I can't even tell you right now, off the top of my head, who we met. But I mean, but we, had a good time at that one. But this one, because as soon as I saw the lineup, and there was only a few people that I really wanted to meet, but the reason I wanted to meet them was because they were from like my childhood watching
Yeah.
in Atlantic, including Jimmy Valiant. In fact, I'm just going to go through. I'm going to go to the pictures, like right now, and I'm going to go. And I don't have to share the sound this time because there's no sound to share. But as you can see, there's Sting.
There's Sting.
I was not about to pay $75 though.
Nah.
Much as what
No disrespect to Sting, but that's
no,
$75. Let's
yeah.
say.
My
My sister would have loved that though.
Yeah.
She was always a huge Sting fan.
Okay. Can you still see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Come on. There we go.
All
Rock
right,
and Roll
Rock and Roll
Express.
Express.
Yep. Um, Nikita
Nikita
Koloff.
Koloff
Yeah, and I'll tell a story about that. Oh, by the way,
with
uh,
the best version of the United States Heavyweight Championship.
yes, and look what else I'm holding as well.
Ah, the
The
chain.
chain. Yep. Because Nikita gave it to me, I was like, "Oh, that thing's heavy, man." He's an awesome guy, by the way. Um, yeah. Like I said, I have a story to tell about Nikita. When he got the pictures, this was the line to get into the place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Look at that.
Look at that.
And you can tell that was right after we got in there
Uh-huh.
because look at my glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're transitional lenses, and
Uh-huh.
so yeah, were still dark, and so that was right because we walked in, and actually Dan Severn was right there as soon as you walk in, and Boogie was about two people over. But I
Oh,
saw
okay.
him, and yeah, and I had the action figure
Yeah.
right there. I had it with me, and I immediately had it in a backpack, and I pulled it out, and and he autographed it. And I asked him about being on a podcast, and he told me how much it's going to cost. And so hopefully, we can get enough money to save the on a
Yeah.
podcast. But it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
But, that is a WWE Hall of Fame ring that we got talked into buying by Robert Gibson. Still trying to figure out how that happened.
I have one too.
Yeah, I mean, but did you buy it from Robert Gibson?
I did not. You bought yours from Robert Gibson.
I
I
sure.
bought mine from the WWE game when they had the collector's set. That's what that came
Oh,
out of. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The one that I have, the collector's thing, I actually have the Demon Finn Balor. I don't know where
Oh,
it's.
okay.
Yeah. In fact, my wife bought that for me. Back when it was 2K17 or 2K18. One
Yeah,
of those.
mine was I think mine was 17 because it had a Flair pop where he was in street clothes with the world title on his shoulder, and
Yep.
then had the replica thing, and it had like a actual piece of his robe in a little plaque like thing. I gave that to my
Oh,
brother.
here's the flip side of the 10 pounds of gold, but you can
Hmm.
see Dan Severn, he signed it.
The Beast.
Yep, alongside where Tommy Wildfire Rich's signature is, and underneath that is a backpack I was carrying everything in. And that's us with Dan Severn holding that belt.
Yep.
Nice guy too. By the way, I need to actually email him a picture of this, because and of course we can have him on the podcast as well.
Oh yeah.
Uh, the man Bill Apter,
Bill After. Yep.
and I'm holding his book. There's the closest shot of his book is Wrestling Fixed. I didn't know it was broken. Uh, I have started reading it a little bit. I mean, I've only got part of the first chapter is just finding the time to sit down and read. Um, he autographed it for us as well, and that's the promo again. I need to escape out of that, and I think I got all the pictures. Let me check to make sure I didn't skip any. Yep, because I started with Sting. Okay. Um, but yeah, that was Bill Apter. He was, God, just so friendly. I could have sat there and just talked to that man forever.
That's
And
awesome.
I was talking to him about, maybe coming on the podcast. And he said, he's like, I don't have time. He's like, because he does a lot of stuff with Sportskeeda. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, they didn't allow him. He's like, no, he's like, I just don't have time. He said, I'd love to. He said, but he actually did give me an email address to send questions to him because I was like, dude, I got a lot of questions about the magazines.
Right.
He's like, all right, and he wrote down an email address which he put in the book also.
Okay. Cool.
So, but yeah, and his was honestly the best deal out of all of them because I mean, and I normally don't talk about like the prices and things like that, but it was $25. I got a picture taken with him. I got the book, got that picture that I showed. Actually, I didn't show the pictures on the camera, did I?
No. No.
There we go. This picture autographed right here from Bill Apter.
Mhm.
Then he did that promo, which was his idea. all that for $25, and I was
Oh,
like,
that's amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good deal. Yeah.
um, and got Rock and Roll Express, right
Hmm.
here, and that's one of the classic pictures,
Oh yeah.
and um, the one with Nikita.
Nikita. Yep.
Yep. So,
Russian Nightmare.
uh, and one of the things also, if you saw the hat Nikita was wearing, this is it right here. This is the hat. This hat right here. Hi, Avi.
What, baby? Hold on. Let me see. Here you go. You want me to turn it on? Okay.
I just looked up and I was like, "Hey, you got a visitor."
Yeah, I saw the door open. I'm like, she'll be walking up in a minute.
But this hat right here was on Nikita Koloff's head. I brought the hat, to see if him
Mm-hmm.
and Crusher Khrushchev, who was also, Barry Darsow, was also supposed to be there, but he had something happen. He wasn't able to make it.
Right. Right.
But Nikita, he started laughing. And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome," and he got it. And he's like, "You want me to wear it?" I was like, "Oh, I was just thinking you to hold it." He's like, "I'll wear it." I was like, "All right." Then we took pictures. Then he forgot to have it on his head. He's like, "Oh, I forgot the hat." And he put the and then he grabbed it, put the hat on. But yeah, he was super nice guy. One of the things, and I know we normally don't talk about religion on the show. I'll make a slight exception for this because if people keep up with wrestling, Nikita Koloff, he became a born again Christian right after he retired at the business. That was around 93, and he's actually a traveling minister. He does a lot of appearances and things. And um, after we were talking, and Leighton and I, we were getting ready to um, move on, But I asked him, I said, "Do you do prayer requests?" And he said, "Sure." And I was thinking he was going to give me an email address or
Right.
a website, to send it to. He's like, "So what's going on, brother?" And I told him, I was like, "Oh, I was like, well, there's, I told him an issue with my son, being bullied at school to the point we had to pull him out of school. And we're homeschooling him now. And I also
Mm-hmm.
told him about, my job situation. And he said, okay. And he grabbed me and Leighton and he prayed with us right there and then.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
that blew my mind when you told me that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I sent you a text. I'm like, I just prayed with Nikita Koloff. That,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
now when I was telling Randy about it, I was like, I don't even know how to describe that, and Randy's like,
Yeah.
well, probably surreal. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was one of I will never forget that experience. Um, but one very, very sad thing, we haven't mentioned it yet,
Yeah.
but I know we're going to have to. We were there. I think I'd already, um, met Jimmy Valley and already met Dan Severn because they were right next to each other. And we were walking over, another part of the gym. Then we heard an announcement, and it said, Art Anderson and Brock Anderson were here yesterday. However, they had to leave because of a family emergency, and they will not be appearing. And then a couple hours later, I get home, check my Twitter, and one of the first things I see is Arn, tweeting that his son Barrett had passed away.
That's awful.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
37 years old. They haven't said. I mean, I haven't seen any reports about what happened. I don't.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I really don't need to.
Mm-mm. No, I mean, regardless of what happened, Arn lost his son. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I know it's made like major news outlets,
mm-hmm.
And um, and you see all these people, including Nikita Koloff. Of course, he probably. I don't know if he found out at the event or later on, but he tweeted, well after the event, giving his own condolences to Arn and the family, and um, I mean that's pretty tough. So I mean, if Arn decides he's just going to stay home from now on,
Oh yeah, you
yeah,
can't blame him.
Yeah, I can't blame him. But yeah, because Barrett, Barrett Lundy, his legal
Mm-hmm.
name. He's only 37. I mean, that's well, especially compared to us. I mean, we
Yeah.
say now. I mean, that's way too young. And
Yeah. I mean, my wife is Hope is 38, so that's like he was my wife's age.
Right. And Brock is in his 20s. I mean,
Mhm.
there was a little bit of an age gap between
Yeah,
the two kids. But just hear that, I mean, it just kind of broke my heart,
yeah.
you know. Because unfortunately, I mean, I'll say it. I mean, I know what it's like to have to bury your own child,
Hmm.
and so I mean, my heart definitely goes out to the Lundy family, and all in mine and Dwaylon's thoughts and prayers, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, the next time they have a fan fest, if I have to come down and pick you up, I will. So, uh, yeah, dude, you got to come up here for that. I mean, it's
Yeah,
such
I
a,
know.
uh,
It's I'm missing out, I know.
yeah. And when I met Jimmy Valiant and my son, he said later on, he's never seen me smile so big, in his, he's never seen me smile that big before,
Hmm.
so, yeah, it's like, yeah, I was pretty happy. I mean, he
Oh
was,
yeah.
yeah, which Jimmy Valiant, I mean, he was not the best wrestler, you know, he's held titles, including
Yeah.
the Northern Wrestling Federation heavyweight
Yeah.
title,
Yeah.
for a day, but he still held it. And but he was, even Jim Cornette described it. He's like, he was just so over with the fans.
Oh yeah. His he was one of those that his personality and charisma carried him a lot farther in wrestling than his in-ring skills would have.
Hmm. And he had two finishing moves. One was a sleeper.
Hmm.
He was the first person I ever saw put a sleeper hold somebody.
Yep.
I didn't understand how it worked back then, but then I realized later on that you're basically choking somebody.
You're basically choking him out. Yeah.
But and then the other one, it was a double elbow drop, sort of, into the ropes, hit them with the elbow when they come off the ropes, and then they land, you immediately drop the
You
elbow
drop it.
on,
Yeah.
and then you pin them.
It was
Um,
simpler times when finishing moves didn't have to be so complex as they are, as some of them are now.
right, and but he was the boogie woogie man. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody loved him, and I mentioned, I was like, yeah, I remember you and Paul Jones, were always at each other. He's like, for 5 years, brother. And I was like, it was 5 years. I mean, I knew it was a long time. I didn't realize
Yeah.
they had a 5 year long feud.
That's crazy.
Oh man. With some of the other wrestlers who were there, I saw the Honky Tonk Man, um, and I had a little bit of cash in my pocket. Then looked and saw his prices. I'm like, never mind, uh, because I only had $20 left, and he was charging like 40. I'm like,
It's like, come on.
that's all right.
It's like, come on, honky. You know better. It's got,
Yeah.
come on.
I always buy wrestling loot. Got another mask. Uh, this one right here, blue and red. And I have no idea what the massacre are going to look like before I buy
Right.
them.
Right.
So um, and got a T-shirt for Leighton, but he won't wear it. But it's like the Dallas Sportatorium,
Oh,
and
why won't he
yeah,
wear
he doesn't understand the significance of it.
it?
But he's like, "What?" I was like, "We'll just wear it around the house or something." I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not going to school right now anyway, so."
Right.
Um, but trying to think what else. Got Leighton a couple of Funko Pops.
Mhm.
Because that's what he goes for. You see in one of the pictures, actually, he's holding one. It's the Undertaker coming out of the casket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And he got his own NWO. I'm like, I already have it, but he wanted his own
He wanted his
NWO.
own. Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Uh, but some of the other wrestlers, Crusher Khrushchev, wasn't able to go. Barry Darso, he had to back out for some reason last minute, but he was bummed that he couldn't be there.
Right.
But Bill Eadie was there. I didn't meet him, but he was there. But he
Mhm.
has his mask on, his mask superstar.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, but it was weird because Darso was going to be pulling like double duty, half of
Yeah.
Demolition,
And
half
half
of the
of,
Russians.
yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to think the other ones.
It would have been
Oh,
hilarious if he mixed the gimmicks up at the different booths.
yeah. I was even thinking, I was like, how's he going to pull this off?
Yeah.
So, Rob Van Dam was there. His line was long,
Oh, yeah.
and he was
I
another.
imagine. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Sting's the reason if you look at the picture, I'm taking it, from down below. They had
Yeah.
him like up on the balcony,
Yeah.
and that was another line. People, I heard him after they met him. They said they waited in that line for 2 hours.
No.
No.
I'm sorry.
Um,
Respect him as a legend and everything, but no, I'm not standing in line for 2 hours. No.
yeah. Beside RVD was Sabu.
Okay.
You know, Shane Douglas was there. Um, I guess I could have asked him. I didn't ask him if he wanted to sign the belt too because I'm like, will he or
Yeah.
won't he? I mean, that's
Because the thing is, it's like, how does he really feel about the NWA title? I
right.
know, I know all that went down, but it's like, how much of that was some true feelings in there? So you don't know.
Yeah. Scorpio was there. You know, saw him. Devon Dudley. Um, uh, Ron Simmons. Damn.
Yep. Yep.
That's what his shirt said anyway.
Yeah.
Um, one of these days I'm going to meet him
Oh yeah.
because everybody I've you know every time I've heard about someone, they're like he's like the nicest people you'd ever meet.
Oh yeah.
You know,
That's
so
what I've always anything ever any interviews with people or things that I've read, they've said that he's just a class act.
yeah. Um, the one of the Bushwhackers was supposed to be there. I don't remember which one. I didn't see him, but then again, that doesn't. I mean, he could have been there, and I just totally missed
Right.
him. Greg Valentine was there. Um, Bobby Blaze was there again, of course. His was the cheapest one. It was 10, 10, 15.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I guess I could have met him, but I really don't know a lot about him.
Right.
You know, so I know he was in Smoky Mountain for a bit. He's from Ashland.
Hmm.
You know, so it's not that far of a drive to go from Ashland up to
Yeah.
Chillicothe.
Yeah.
Uh, but in the wrestling, you know, my son didn't want to stay to watch the wrestling, which
Hmm.
um, you know, he calls it indie wrestling. I'm like, this isn't really indie wrestling. I mean, these are like major players.
Yeah.
Um, we left before Big Mama and Savannah Sweet got there, so we didn't get a chance to
Mm.
talk with them. So uh now the next day, Tiny Tim, he did tell me, you know, because I showed some videos like Jimmy, he said, I've wrestled Jimmy before. I'm like, you have?
Oh.
So he's like, yeah, you know, but when he said, yeah, what about the time he was the NWF champion? But at that same time he wrestled him, um and then Big Mama, not your Big Mama, you know,
Right.
the NWF Big Mama, you know,
Yeah.
she talked about, you know, she beat him with a belt or something like that. I'm like, dude, what? Yeah, she said it was like, you know, 5 years ago or something like that. She said he was there, part of a story, and she was told, said hit him with the belt, and she's like, I don't want to. He's like 75 years old, and like hit him. He's like,
Hit him.
finally, you know, so he got beat by a Big Mama, but not his Big Mama.
Right. Right.
You know, so I wonder about his Big Mama because that was one of the things when I got home Saturday night. I pulled up the network and I pulled up Starcade 85. And I did that actually to watch the Rock and Rolls versus the Russians in the cage. And I forgot that was the one. It was Jimmy and Miss Atlanta Lively, also known as Ronnie Garvin in a dress,
Yeah.
against the Midnight Express. And Big Mama, of course, was with them. And I was like, I
Right.
forgot about her. You know, I was like, how did I forget about her? So I'm going to have to look up, because I mean, that was actually his wife in real life.
Hmm.
Let's see. I do a search on the page. Yeah, his wife is named, her actual name is Angel. Why don't you just call her that?
I know. That's I don't know.
Um, oh, apparently he actually wrote a book and another book, and Nikolai Volkov did the forward.
Hmm. Well,
Huh. Um, he's now married, and yeah, so she's still with us.
okay.
So he has 6 grandkids, and it sounds like he's still running his school, and he has a son named Handsome.
That fits. Yeah, that
Yep.
checks out.
So, um, but yeah, so uh, I cannot, you know, with all the past 3 weeks, it's just been so hectic. I haven't even been really able to keep up with what's going on in
Yeah,
wrestling besides a couple of tweets. But
me either. But I don't think it's been a lot. I think everything was gearing toward AEW Revolution, which was an excellent show from what everything that I've seen. They said you definitely need to check out MJF and Bryan Danielson in the Iron Man
yeah.
match. They said it was just. They said anybody who says MJF can't wrestle needs to watch that match.
Is that the one? I mean, I've heard some flack where he threw a drink in a kid's
Yeah,
face.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen kind of mixed opinions on that. Some people are saying the kid was a plant, had to have been because they're not going to risk him actually.
Yeah,
Like,
I kind of thought that too because it's like you throw a drink in my kid's face, it's not going to end well for you. I
yeah,
mean,
I
yeah,
mean, I mean, you may end up breaking my legs, but you know
you
what?
might, but you'll know I was there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
but I've heard it was an excellent show. Um, it's really it. I mean, mainly, everything's gearing toward WrestleMania weekend. So,
yep. And this coming Saturday, there is an event down in Covington. I don't know if I'm going to go to it or not. I'd like to. Um, had Nikki Victory turned heel by the last
yes,
time?
yes,
Okay.
she had already turned. Yeah,
Oh yeah, she's fully. Um,
yeah, she's embracing it too,
oh,
from what
she
I've seen
is.
on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the funny thing, this actually happened. I don't. Yeah, I know I haven't told you about this. Um, right after Chris Harris did the promo,
hmm
which by the way, Chris, thank you so much. That
yes,
was
thank you. That was
fantastic.
amazing.
Um, well, we're sitting here talking about something about him coming back on the show. He wants to come back on the show.
hmm
So we definitely gotta hook that up.
Yep.
We do owe Bear Kermicade. We owe him
Yes, we do.
first.
Yep.
So he is the first in line. So, but then Nikki walked by. And of course all the matches are over with and whatever.
Right.
And she's wearing like this leather skirt,
hmm
type of deal. So she's fully
Oh
embracing like.
yeah, yeah.
And she walked by, and Chris Harris looked at her. He said, "You look like a slut." Then she turned around, "Thank you."
That's good.
And I was like, "I wish I had that on video."
Yeah,
You know,
but
but
that's great that she's embracing that she's having, because some people can only play one side or the other.
right,
It's good that she was, a face for so long and then was able to make that switch and fully embrace the heel side. So
yeah.
that's pretty
I
cool.
mean, because I was
Add
telling
some
Dylan,
versatility to your career
yes,
too.
because that's the only thing in the NWF she had not done.
Yeah,
I mean, and she's done things that, she's been a tag team champion where it was
yeah,
her and Star Rider. They were the
yeah,
tag team
yeah,
champs.
yeah,
She was wrestling guys.
yeah.
Dude, when you see her wrestle in person, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a win. It's not going to be an if,
hmm
but she takes some bumps that I'm like, "Ew," and
I've
I'm
seen
like,
some of her stuff on
oh,
Dark. She's taken some bumps on AEW Dark that's like, oh,
when you see the one she's taking live, I mean, when they're
mhm.
taking her and they're basically whipping her backwards where she's all of a sudden on her
Oh,
back, but she's hitting the back of her head
oh
on
wow.
the mat. I'm like, ooh, I'm like, y'all need to kind of take it easy. I mean, I know she may be tough, but you're talking about the back of somebody's head here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I saw her take a spine buster from a guy named Ryan Stone. And I mean, and he did a very, very good, like Arn Anderson,
hmm
Triple H level
Yeah.
spine buster. And he's a big dude. I mean, he's like about our size. And
hmm
you've seen how small she is.
Yeah.
And he did it just perfect. And I was like, oh, you know, and she took it like a champ. So I think that's another reason why when Roger Ruffin said she has no ceiling,
Oh
because
yeah, she doesn't. No.
she's got the move set, she's got a good look, and she can take some just nasty bumps.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things Jim Ross has actually talked about when wrestlers were sending videos. Okay, they tend to only show the highlights where they're the ones winning, doing all these moves. He's like,
Yeah.
but they need to see how well do you take bumps.
Yeah. How well do you sell? Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, she does a fantastic job. And when they show her and Joshua, um,
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
some people are like, I can't believe that. I'm like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. It's like
you know,
it's good. It works.
yeah, it works. I mean, but I think for now, I think we were, we lasted like a little over an hour.
Oh yeah.
Had no idea what we were going to talk about. Well,
Yeah.
we knew a couple things, but it's good to be back. Hopefully, it won't be 3 weeks before we record again.
Right.
So once again, we apologize for that. We didn't, like I said, life happens, and for me and Dwaylon, it
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Yeah, a lot. So we just had to roll with it and do the best we could.
Yep. So, but in the meantime, send us your suggestions, send us your feedback. By the way, if you use Apple Podcasts, listen to the show, if you give us a 5-star rating and a review, I will read it on the air. In fact, I didn't even check that today. It shows how out of it I've been. Didn't even check to see if we had any reviews. That's right. I'm singing like it's in the 1940s, and nope.
I do that sometimes too.
Singing like your Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Abracadabra.
Yeah.
And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, Dwaylon knows.
Yep. I know.
Go check it out. When he starts singing Hocus Pocus, then he says Abracapocus.
Yeah.
Hocus Cadabra. See, now you're wanting to go watch cartoons.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So call Avi in there. That way, you'll have an excuse. And
I'll Hope knows by now. I'll just watch it by myself. It'll be fine.
I
watch enough superhero cartoons that she's like, I don't think anything about it.
You know what? Watch the Super Friends from like the late 70s, early 80s.
I have, and it's like, it cracks me up.
It does. But my friend, until hopefully, we're recording again on Thursday.
Hopefully,
I say hopefully,
yeah.
We're not going to schedule any interviews yet.
Yeah.
And I will email Bear and say, hey, we're back recording again. We'll see.
Tentatively, yeah.
Tentatively. But until we can speak again, my friend, I'll just go ahead and say good night and God bless.
God bless.